Welcome to the Off Script Podcast. I'm your host, Will May, and I have a very special guest today, Katie Langenfeld.
Thank you.
Here. Katie, I'm so excited to have this conversation. You've become one of our closest friends. You're one of the most high-performing salespeople I've got to be around and to coach and to experience like the last 3 years now. So it's been fun to watch you grow from a brand new agent that thought she sold a house without even calling the listing agent all the way up to 2 years ago selling 38 houses, last year 54, this year you're pacing at 75.
Well, thanks, buddy. You're not too bad yourself.
Thank you. Buy sides only also. So the panel is about the buying process, working with buyers in the spring market. And today, I just kind of want to go over like your team dynamic that you have with Ash and the core team, how you're creating business, but more importantly, what are you doing to convert at such a high level over the past few years with not having like 10 to 15 years of real estate experience to pull on.
Yeah.
So let's start with, how did you get here? Like, what's your version of this story?
Whew. Well, you know, I like to talk, so it's hard for me to condense into a coherent small phrase. So I'll try and button it up as best as I can. But I came from the insurance industry, and I was a field agent back in the days of the dinosaurs.
Back in the day.
Back in the days where we had maps to go to houses and we didn't have technology. But I was an insurance agent and qualified for convention, so I loved the sales process. When my kiddos were really little, I went to work in the home office, worked as a sales trainer, and got to interview a lot of really high-performing agents. I got to read a lot of really good sales and motivation and coaching books, and then had a few promotions. And the last 8 years I was there, I led a team in managing insurance agents. Yep. And so I got to kind of develop that and teach certain set of sales skills, because in my industry back then we were selling a product that I highly valued and believed in, and it was the most expensive product in our area. So selling value had to be a skill that you had to overcome a lot of objections.
And you have to articulate that at a high level.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then made the transition into real estate.
Yeah. So
top agent on the first day, I bet.
First day, easy. Yeah. Insurance is easy. I just said insurance.
Real estate's easy.
That's easy too. Anyway, so my husband was looking for a career change and wanted to flip houses. So I got my license just to help him. Fast forward, I barely helped him. So He's actually studying for his real estate license. But it just came at the right place, right time, and was ready for a transition in my career. Missed sales and interviewed few companies. Yep. And I think you were just the one that stood out and that we gelled the most with, and had really it was a good culture and values fit.
And then as you came on to Toast, you were an individual agent, shared services agent at that time.
Right. Yep. So I started completely individual. Yep. And then when Ashley was bringing on, back when it was Toast Real Estate Group, started as shared services. I think I did that from October until May. Yeah. And then in May, I joined her on the core team, and that's when I focused primarily on buyers. Yeah,
so the core team is specialized. We've talked about it on the podcast several times, but just high overview. Ashley does all list sides. Katie does all buy sides. That's a really hard hurdle for agents to overcome. Mm-hmm. Ashley starting it, right? And you stepping into a role where you're like, what do you mean I can't do listing sides? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you hear that from, I know, having people in buyer agent roles that I've coached. Agents will always come be like, why would you only want to do buy sides? Like, how's that experience been for you, and like maybe the things that those agents don't see?
Yeah. So I think what I've learned over the years is that if I'm going to spend my time doing something day after day, I want to do the things that I want to do and that I find joy in. Mm-hmm. And I don't particularly find joy in the list side. I like going out to houses with buyers, and it's not so much the houses, it's more so of seeing the look on their face when that perfect house does come along, and they get so excited and every box is checked, and it just makes them so happy. Mm-hmm. So I've I mean, of course I need to make money, but I've never been a money focused. I need to make the most on the sale, or I need to make the most. And so, yeah, there is more commission on the listing side, but I think when you, at least for me, when I am able to just focus in on one part of it and get really good at that one part, then I don't feel like I'm dabbling over here and oh, there's new rules and I have to keep up with everything. I can just stay laser focused.
Yeah. And you guys have figured out how to work together as a team, which I think is probably the harder part when it comes to sales in general, right? Real estate sales, all sales, typically can be ego-driven.
Yeah.
Right? Is that fair? You probably saw that in insurance quite often.
Yeah.
But sometimes those are the best-selling people. But when it comes to leveraging and being on a team, like, where have you guys built that trust, or where are the main things that you talk about when you talk with clients about that?
Yeah, I mean, I came in as a new agent, and I think it was more of a leap of faith for Ashley to take a chance on me and want to share her business with me, or to at least be willing in the beginning. So for me, it was like, oh, I have clients right away. That's amazing. And, of course I could, call and lead gen and get my own. But I mean, I'm very grateful for her giving me that start to my career, because she, at that point, I think had 5 to 8 years of experience.
Yeah.
And so a lot of clientele. But I can tell you, my clients are like my family, and I am very protective over that. And so I think if it was like a conflict in values or ethics or skill set, but Ashley and I just feel like we're so simpatico, and we think very similarly, and I wouldn't trust anyone else to help with the listing side of a transaction. And I know over time, I'm sure first day she was a little nervous about me taking her clients out and like, what's the faucet? But I think over time you just kind of learn to trust, and then, she's just been great and very open with her clients about that.
Well, and it goes both ways, right? Because, yeah, you were new at the beginning, but like your work ethic and your ability to be coached, and then your ability to perform after that, now, like, there's complete trust that's been built over 2 years, where, not speaking for her, but I imagine she would say, Katie's 10 times better at the buy side than I am at any point right now, so I would rather her work with these people than for me to work with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been probably the most comforting thing for her. And then now it's like it becomes bigger than 1 or 2 people, right? Because when you have 2 people working together, there's synergy there, good things really start to happen. When you're talking to a client that's like, okay, we're gonna have to list our home before we buy, like, how does that handoff sound to make it even feel comfortable? Because oftentimes agents are like, they can't do it like I can do it, so it never works. But you guys have obviously made it work. How are you communicating that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if it's like a sphere that if all they're doing is listing and they want me to list their house, I just tell them that I don't do listings. And you wouldn't want me to do listings when you have somebody that's much better than me to be in charge of managing that for you, because this is a very important asset that you're selling. And so I just say she's the best agent that, I mean, really, I truly believe that. When I say that I'm handing off my clients because she is the best listing agent, I mean, she is a beast, and she is a really good negotiator. She's very logical about how she prices homes and can explain things and communicate with clients really, really well. So I think I just am honest and talk her up and say, I will introduce you to Ashley. You're going to absolutely love working with her. She's got processes for days, and she's going to do a better job than what I could. So
you're just, for you guys, it's just having that trust and then explaining. I'm sure she's doing the same thing as far as how your process works and what you're doing. So a big part of the handoff is just having belief in the other person.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's no ego. I mean, she's giving me clients, I'm giving her clients, and yeah, I mean, if I sat down and did the math, but I mean, what's the point? Yeah,
I think it's grown to be bigger than both of you guys at this point, where it continues to produce, even if you guys say this, but it's not true. We don't lead generate. The actuality is that you're always focused on your 0 to 90 pipeline, because there's so many people that are constantly coming into that funnel.
Yeah, and in reality, it's the 0 to 30 pipeline that it's like, I don't want to do another open house this week, and I'm too busy.
Yeah,
too many people.
Well, what are like the keys right now when it comes to like actually converting in this specific market that we're in? What have you, like, what are the key things that you're doing that work in this market right now that is quick, competitive, there's not a lot of inventory? How are you getting things under contract? I have another follow-up question after that, but first of all, like, what's your thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, I think really it starts with the fundamentals on just sitting down with a client and doing a very comprehensive buyer's consultation. And within that consultation, we go through a lot of different things, and I explain the market that we're in, what strategies we can use in that market. And it's every time that I've ever skimped on that, it just doesn't go as smooth as I would have wanted it to.
So big thing is like buyer consult first, set expectations. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about this market that we're in now, what are like your key things that you're preparing them for?
Yeah, I came into the market in 2023 when there was limited inventory. And so it feels like the same thing, only now it's much more, it's the Sahara. But I do tell them, sense of urgency is key. For good or bad, work-life balance, I've always said, if you see a house today that you want to go see, I never want to be the reason why your dream home slips through your fingers. So, if it's 7:00 at night and I'm pulling in my driveway and you want to go see a house, I will put that car in reverse and I will meet you at that house. And because a lot of times it is those that we've been able to get under contract.
Yeah, and you're at a time where you can do that, not having little ones, but I imagine having that many people in your pipeline has been hard to like manage staying in touch with them, right?
Yeah. Because you have all your people that are under contract, and then all the people that are in your 0 to 30, and it ebbs and flows, and it is difficult. But I think a lot of them, I think it just comes down to having a really thorough buyer's consult, and then when I set them up on searches, I'm not sending them 200 homes at a time or one home at a time, so they're getting a lot of good viable options that they can send to me, and so it kind of runs itself a little bit.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so the follow-up question I had was, if you have a contingent buyer in this market where those are challenging to get under contract more than others.
Yeah.
Is that conversation with the listing agent challenging if you're not the one that's listing the house?
No.
Have you had struggles with that at all throughout the last 2.5 years?
No. There's always people that have questions on it, but it's obviously same brokerage, and I just explain that I only focus on the buy side, Ashley only focuses on the list side, and then we just communicate a lot throughout the process. But I don't think I've ever gotten pushback on that once I explain how our model works, because I think agents have heard of it, they've just, aren't used to it.
Yeah.
But, I can't think of a time where it's been detrimental.
Yeah. When getting somebody under contract in the market, like going into like almost more details now, what's your process for figuring out, is price the only thing that you're always pushing on, or like how are you getting some of the information to have competitive offers?
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends. There's some agents that won't pick up the phone, and it's hard to figure out how to structure an offer, and that can be frustrating. But for the most part, listing agents really do want to help their clients sell their home. Mm-hmm. And so my first call is to them and asking, when are you reviewing offers? Are you able to share why the seller is moving? When does the seller want to close? Do you have any competing offers? And if they say, yeah, they have competing offers, then I'll try and get as much information as they'll let me get. But
so are you pushing in that, or like how are you doing that?
How am I asking them?
Yeah.
I'll just keep asking and asking until they
just be direct.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they'll say, okay, Katie, I haven't told any other agents this, so I don't think that's fair. And I'm like, oh, whatever. But I don't know. I think if you have a good relation, I don't know what, the thousands of realtors that are listing homes in Omaha, but I'm nice to everyone. And I think when you just exude kindness, other people want to help you. And, if we can reach a deal that both sides are happy with, then that's the goal.
Cool. So main thing is trying to figure out what seller's motivation is and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If you were to give a few things on here's 3 things you can do when writing an offer to make it competitive, what are the 3 levers you can pull? Price, we know. We know price. Go as high as possible. Escalation clause. Mm-hmm. What are some other areas that you see as a big factor?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the house and what my client can do. I'm not always a fan of appraisal gaps, but sometimes they've been really useful. Just used one not too long ago that put it in offer and didn't have to use it. I mean, closing date for the sellers is really a big factor of if we can be flexible, then the sellers absolutely love that. Yeah, I think having a clean offer too and making sure all the boxes are checked and that, it shows that we're being thorough on our side. Sometimes it's doing an inspection for information only and really communicating what that means to the client. And that if we're going to do inspections, then we can get it done in a really timely manner. So sometimes I'll go and look at the inspector's website and see, can we get it done this week? And if so, I'll try and book it and, just try and speed things up. Because if it doesn't end up working, I don't want that seller to then be out 2 weeks and then have to relist it.
Especially with the market changing this year, how it has.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what that would look like 2 weeks from now. So just trying to look out for them in that way.
Yeah. Just being a kind person, I think, and not trying to put one over on someone else. Having good intentions.
That makes sense. With the amount of people that are in your pipeline, how are you staying in touch with all of them? Like, what does that look like? I know we've hired showing assistant over the past. Treasurer's been with us since January. Mm-hmm. What has that been like? Has that been helpful? What's the learning curve there been?
What's the question?
What's the learning curve there been with having somebody else to help you work the pipeline?
It's been good. I think there's, with a new showing assistant, and she wasn't brand new to real estate, but I think I do things different than you would do things and anyone else would do things. And so, we obviously like what we do and think it works. But I think it's just making sure that, Treasurer's trained and that she knows what to look for when she's going into houses. I mean, our goal is obviously to sell a house, but 99% of the time, my clients are going to do a home inspection. And if we can find things that would be reasons not to buy that house, and the home inspector is going to find it, why spend the $500 on a home inspection when it's going to get uncovered? So trying to help her have a more trained eye on things to look for. And I always tell people, I'm not trying to poo-poo on your parade, but, of the list of pros and cons on a house, my list of cons is probably going to be longer than the pros. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy the house, but I just want you to know everything that I can see that might be a reason that this house might be a little bit more than you can chew off. And if it is, that's fine. We'll find another one. It just might take a little bit longer, but it is really just to, we have due diligence to our clients, to be honest, and things that we put on there. Sometimes it's like torn carpet or, a little bit of a stain here and there. And usually those aren't big deals to clients, but they still want to know because they're looking at, the house is so pretty and can I see myself here? And they should be looking at that. And my job is to look for water intrusion and leaks and, all the things that could prevent them. So I think just her learning curve of knowing what to look for has been just, like it would be with any new agent. Yeah. But, just communicating that to the client. And at the end of the day, it's still their decision to make and if they want to move forward. But I think we just want to be as upfront and honest as possible and give guidance where they need it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the buyer movement and from start to finish happens in showings. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we look at showing assistant or somebody showing a house as somebody that's just going to open the door for them as a time leverage for somebody to get them into the house quick, and then we'll talk about it after. Mm-hmm. So what are you said looking for certain things. What are the key things that you would want to teach a showing partner if an agent was going to be hiring?
Yeah, a lot of times it's looking at ceilings and if you see stains on the ceiling, could they be from an HVAC that it's condensed water that's maybe dripping on the ceiling tile, or could it be on a second floor? Could it be that the roof is leaking? And then you look at the property disclosure and you see, this roof is 9 years old. Maybe there's a leak there. When you open up the utility closet and there's where the water shutoff is. There's been so many times where I found water leaks and texted the listing agent right away and say, hey, did you know you have an active leak in the house? But I think That and looking for foundation cracks. When you see that efflorescence on it doesn't necessarily mean the house is crumbling, but 9 times out of 10, it's because the soil is level on the outside of the house, and building those things up and providing those tips, and opening up cabinets and seeing is it old plumbing, and is that plumbing leaking? I mean, I'll turn on the hot water and make sure the hot water heater's working, and go by bathtubs and see, those kiddos love to splash around. So did they splash around for so many years that subfloor is now rotted out? Looking at windows to see if they're rotted. I mean, literally there was a house that they had rotten windows, and I was able to put my hand completely down through the floor and wiggle my fingers because it was so rotted and bottomed out. But things like that. And yeah, I mean, like those clients, they weren't scared by that. He was a handyman, so that didn't bother him. But not many clients are like that.
Especially your first time home buyers, right? I think I've heard you talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like
education. Yeah.
It's finding like the right house for the right type of buyer that you have, and being able to almost do like your own mini inspection at every house, or is it just like only if they're like in this one?
No, every house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I also, if I don't know them well, and especially if Ashley handed them off or I met them at an open house, they don't know me, and I don't expect them to just say, "Oh, I trust you with my children on the weekends, Katie Langenfeld." So I think I have to earn their trust and find a way to be credible. I don't want to be known as just a door opener and that I'm not providing a service. I want to advocate for them and make sure that the house that they're buying is safe and is going to be there for as long as they want it to be. I don't have a crystal ball, and obviously there's things that they can't view in a house. Yep. But
so you're saying that would probably be like one of the bigger things from a showing. If you're hiring showing leverage, is like, you've got to understand the structure of a home as a whole, and then that's got to pair with like what are the next steps and how does this work moving forward?
Yeah, and I mean, ChatGPT is helpful, but we always say don't trust it; it's not the gospel. So we also rely on a lot of contractors. So we'll take pictures and, hey, is this code? Can we do this? Is this okay? And that's how you kind of find a lot of decks aren't to code. And
yeah, I was just going to ask, like when buyers are always like, how much is this going to cost? You probably have like past experience you can pull from sometimes, but
so, yeah, I'm careful because I'm my husband does construction, and so it's like it's never that simple. And so just because I've seen it with another house, I can say, for context, I just had this happen in another house. It was this. I don't know if it's going to be that and if it's the same problem, but I think we should always get a bid and make 100% sure.
Yeah.
Have somebody come out and bid it. But
what about the actual conversation that's happening in the open house? So do you see that as a place where you can move someone through pipeline or move them closer to writing an offer, getting something accepted, or is it more of the conversation after?
I mean, I've done open houses where they've come in and ended up loving that house. They didn't have an agent, and we ended up submitting an offer and getting it accepted. So those are nice.
Those are great, yeah.
Yeah, those are great. Does it happen all the time? No, but probably once a year. But I do a lot of open houses because I think they're fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think depending on how busy the open house is, if I can find somebody that, I just love first-time home buyers so much. So I think a lot of them are just in a strong need of education. So if I have the time to spend with them, I'll walk them around and say, as a first-time home buyer, these are the things that you should be looking for. And so I'll kind of do like a little mini, showing as we're going through the house. A lot of the ones that I'm doing open houses for are already pre-inspected. And so I know a little bit about the house, but still,
Yeah.
Whether they go with me or go with another agent, they should probably make sure the water works. And
yeah, always check the water. So when training Treasurer, like how to speak with your clients in the open house, like is her mindset like we have to close at the house, or is it more like make adjustments and like pull information, or like what's your focus with when number one, know the structure, but how are we communicating with clients in the open house?
Yeah, I think some people...
Or not open house, I'm sorry, in the showing.
Oh, in
I
the
apologize,
showing.
I keep
Okay.
saying open house. In the showing
sorry.
part of
Okay.
it.
Then I answered an open house question. In the showing, yeah, it's not to, we never ask at the end of the showing, are you ready to put in an offer on this one?
What are we writing at?
Yeah. Double, triple. No, it's more of here are the pros, here are the cons, and we're careful to say like, like we're not explicitly saying like this is water damage, this is that, and we're not pretending to be like contractors or inspectors, but I think because we treat it as more educational. You can read body language and you can tell if people like the house, and if they're just like, nope, let's go on to the next one. So if they do like it, then, I think that's also an opportunity to build trust by not pushing someone. And, I'm not desperate for sales. I would much rather them be happy than to just push a sale that, they're going to end up moving in 3 years because it doesn't make sense for their lifestyle, and just because they feel pressured. But yeah, I think normally if they like it, and whether they ask a lot of questions or not, sometimes it's just, okay, so if they indicate that they like it, then we kind of talk about what next steps would be in writing an offer. And I mean, honestly, most of the time they're the ones that are more proactive with that on whether they want to write an offer. And sometimes I'll think people love the house and they want to write an offer on something, and then they're like, no, it was just okay. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Read that wrong.
Yeah, read that wrong. So, I guess just not being pushy and letting people decide in their own time. However, if it is a very, very competitive market, and we know that the sellers are reviewing offers at 8 p.m. tonight, and we have to know, some people are really uncomfortable with that, especially in the beginning, and they don't want to feel pressured. And so, just kind of going back and reminding them of, in the market that we're in, it's not uncommon that houses are being sold in a day or first day on the market. And, but I think some people will just say, if I missed out on this house, it's not the end of the world. And if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Put your best foot forward, and if we miss it, like if you have them in that mindset, they're not blaming you then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really huge part of this. And like with you explaining, you've already obviously had practice, because with the specialization in the core team, you've already been handing listings off to Ashley. So I imagine at the buyer consult to say, hey, my showing partner is going to be the one that's available for you to make sure you can get into the home. Has that been hard with your clients to have somebody else showing houses and have them still trust you?
Yes and no, I'll be honest. There's some people that, especially really close friends, that I think, just want to hang out and go see houses together. And treasure will still come on those. And, there's always things that she's still learning, but, that can be hard sometimes. And if there's a special set of skills or new construction that I don't feel like she's quite ready for, again, she can always come, but it just depends on the client. But going back to the consultation, the goal is for them not to miss out on a house. And so if they want to go see a house today at 2:00, chances are I'm probably not going to be available on that short of notice, but she would be. Mm-hmm. And if she can get in and get it scheduled, then that's their best way of getting in to see if they want to put in an offer on the house. Occasionally they'll ask me to come and meet them and look at the house and just give it a good old once over and make sure I didn't see anything. Because again, we don't want them unnecessarily spending money on an inspection if they don't have to. But I would say 90% of the time, Treasure's just running the show, and she's scheduling the inspections, and then, or not inspections, but showings, and then just updating the group on they liked it, these are the things that they liked, here's the pros and cons, and
love it.
Yeah.
And that helps you stay in contact with what's happening throughout, and then have good conversations with them about.
Right.
So almost like you have with the amount of people in your pipeline, which is, I think you have like over 35 or 40 in 0 to 90, right? Yeah, billion. For you to go back to the group message, get caught up, understand, and then kind of do your follow-up or do your work to move everything forward.
Yeah, and sometimes she doesn't know. She's like, I don't know if they like the house or not. And so if she's going to write a summary in the text message anyways, and if it's kind of unclear, do they like it or not, then I'll say, what did you guys think? And then get a little bit more clarity, and then, it's usually really good.
Yeah. If you were to talk to an agent that wanted to do more business this year, maybe they're an individual agent, would you say, like, what are the skill development pieces, or where's the areas they could focus on to grow their business quickly?
Well, I think we are all humans with egos, and doing a role play in front of other humans is not the most comfortable thing in the world. But I think if you want to stay comfortable, stay where you are. If you want to grow, then get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I think, we do it so many times, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where we practice skill set and how to generate leads and set appointments, that it's almost second nature to, I would say it's second nature to almost every agent in our brokerage now.
Yep.
So I think that fundamental skill development, is it awkward in the first couple of weeks? Yeah. But then you get over it, and then it becomes more, it's easier to have conversations with people in a real world setting. And I don't think I would have traded that for the world. I think when we go and practice, we'll throw in some objections and different scenarios that all of us have faced and had a hard time overcoming. And, sometimes it stumps us, and then we'll say, well, what should we say in that situation? But yeah, I think that probably by far is how I've attributed success. And then, early on when I was brand new doing lead generation, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So you said, you can send mailers, you can do cold calls, you can door knock, you can do open houses. So I did all of those. And I learned what I liked to do and what I didn't like to do and what gave me the best return. And I think, you helped me generate cold call list of people that were not on the do not call list, but I could call them and invite them to open houses. Or if I happened to have one buyer client that was looking in a specific neighborhood, then I could cold call around that area. And generally people were really nice, and rarely did I get hung up on. But at that time, I was probably calling 100 people a day and talking to maybe 10. And I think that was really valuable. And I would, I left my door open, and you would walk by, and I would say the most cringy, embarrassing things on the phone. And I'd get, halfway through a script, and then I'd be like, oh, that went really good. I'll hang up now. And then you're like, how did it go? And I'm like, I didn't even ask for the appointment. I froze, and like, call him back. And so I, call him back and ate my humble pie there. But it was, I think I sought that feedback, and you were so gracious to be able to provide it, and you didn't make me feel like a loser. You'd make fun of me a lot, but
you're one of those people that you take feedback really well. So I think that's a really big piece of understanding how you grew so quickly to go from brand new in the industry to doing 75 buy sides this year is insane. That's a very quick path to that. And you're coachable. You were you talked about open houses earlier. There's been a couple where I've had somebody come in and buy the house because I'm always doing open houses. You're very visible. You've made yourself visible. That's either through doing open houses or high effort. And when you were in the first year, you were calling anybody and everybody every single day. So you really stuck to lead generation. And did the work. And in a low inventory market that I came in at, I was concerned. I'm like, if I got to keep busy, otherwise I'm not going to be able to afford my mortgage. Yep. And I remember I would also, if our brokerage at the time didn't have enough open houses for me to do that weekend, I would cold call other brokerages and ask agents. And some of those agents were really mean to me and just thought I was really stupid for asking to host their open house. Wild. But I did it, and I learned that I really, really like open houses, and it's fun for me to do that side of it because I get to engage with people face to face. And more than half the people that show up at an open house probably have an agent, but the other half don't. And if you can, I'm thinking like, you're here. You seem like a friendly person. Why not have a conversation? And if I can help you, great. And if you have a problem and you need to move, I feel like there's been so much low-hanging fruit at those open houses over the past few years that, I'd be a fool not to train. When you approach, I've heard you talk about those situations in open houses, you approach that as a challenge. If you're not talking to me, I'll get you to talk to me, right? And you've got to have that kind of competitiveness in you to want to compete in sales in order to be really great, I think, sometimes. And you have that through and through. You've always been that way. Yeah, I like people to like me, and
I don't know what their experience has been at other open houses, and maybe they're not used to talking with people. But if you're there, I'm going to talk to you. Because I don't want to be bored and just, flipping through my phone and standing there and not being effective in any sort or helpful. So, yeah, I mean, usually it's just kind of like having a fun conversation, like, oh, what brings you in? And you can tell by personality how they answer that. If they're just like, well, obviously I'm looking for a house. And I'm like, okay, well, you're a little bit more direct, so we're not going to joke around as much as I normally would. So just trying to meet people where they are. And, there's so many good sales books and personality books that help with that too. But I mean, if I can provide a little bit of education and credibility and show them I'm not just like a door opener and just taking up space, that I really truly do want to help and advocate for them, then yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I've met at open houses, I'm like, I probably think of them as friends, and they're probably like, okay, thanks for helping me sell that or buy that house out one time, weirdo. But no, I think we've just been really lucky with the buyers that we've had over the last few years. They're just really nice people.
Yeah, well, you attract who you are, right? And so if you put that energy out, that's what you're going to get back. So, Katie, I am so grateful for you spending time. First of all, do the podcast and the panel, but also just for trusting us and doing what we do on a day-to-day basis. You make our culture better, our brokerage better, and we're so grateful that you trust us with being on the core team too. So,
well, I'm grateful for you guys too.
Yeah, thank you. This has been good. I'm excited for the panel conversation with the other agents as well. I think you're going to shine and do great on that as well. So thanks for making the time.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we will see you on the next episode.